Well, it's been election day in Pakistan and the people's access to the internet and phone calls have been halted by the government. The Interior Ministry says the move is necessary to stop incidents of terrorism. The election comes almost 2 years after the previous Prime Minister, cricketer turned politician Imran Khan, was ousted in a no-confidence vote. A three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was on the ballot in what many analysts say is Pakistan's least credible election yet. Mr. Khan, jailed on corruption charges last year, is barred from standing, and his party called the internet cut a cowardly act. It's unclear how soon results will be announced, but they must be released within 2 weeks of election day. Well, the VOA's Pakistan Bureau Chief Sarah Zaman joins us now from Islamabad. You're welcome to the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, how have Pakistanis been reacting, to the lack of internet access and, of course, mobile calls?
Yes, this has frustrated Pakistanis, and not just the support of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, but many others. We saw that Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, who's a leader of Pakistan People's Party, he took to Twitter and he condemned this outage. There have been other major politicians who also complained about it. The voters that I spoke to expressed frustration, and they said that this was going to make it very difficult for them to communicate with each other, but also to guide each other in terms of how to vote, where to go to vote. And some people said that this was just an unnecessary or over-the-top measure. So this was something that definitely frustrated a lot of people today.
And the government says that, it's trying to prevent incidents of terrorism. It's quite interesting that this is only happening during the general elections. Now, are there other reasons that people have been offering as to why this is happening at this time during the elections?
Well, Pakistan does have a history of reducing or downgrading internet service at other times as well. Sometimes when there are larger events like religious holidays or events where they worry that there could be any kind of sectarian tensions or maybe the risk of militant attack, they do downgrade internet service. But lately, we have seen that in the run-up to these elections, when Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party, when they would try to hold online events, campaign events, that internet would slow down and social media platforms would become inaccessible in Pakistan. So this is something we have seen before. And today, when the internet was downgraded, largely the government said that it was largely because of security concerns. But of course, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf said that this was a cowardly attempt. And other people, because they're used to seeing something like this, they understand that anytime something important is happening in Pakistan, we can expect internet service to go down. But this is not something that the public takes to very lightly or that is something that is appreciated. We saw that despite this internet outage, there were close to about 24 attacks in different parts of the country. So even though the day was considered largely peaceful, this measure, which is not unusual in Pakistan's case, was still not seen as a very positive step.
And fair to say, that at some point yesterday, over 20 people were killed in the Balochistan province. No group claimed responsibility for that. But does the government consider this act of terrorism related to today's election and the reason why those bans have been placed?
Well, ISIS-K, which is Islamic State's local branch, Islamic State Khorasan is the full form. They took responsibility for the attack in Pashin, which killed at least 18 people. And the other part of your question, that whether this was seen as a terror attack related to the elections, both of the attacks happened on campaign offices. So it was obvious that they were meant to target these candidates. They were meant to attack their election campaign. So, which is also another reason that the government had when they took down internet today. Now, the interesting thing also is that in the lead up to this election, there was a lot of speculation about internet going down. And in the last few days, we saw government officials assuring the public that that there would not be an internet outage, that people can expect to be able to communicate freely. And so this order that came just as polls started this morning was a rude awakening for a lot of Pakistanis.
And so how have people been monitoring the election results?
So the Election Commission of Pakistan has a system that they devised, and that is a system that allows them to tabulate the results in the polling station, and then it's sent to an official, and then that official sends it to the Election Commission. So this is not something that the public is just able to go online and see. The tabulation system is partly manual and then partly electronic. The Election Commission has said that the system is not dependent entirely on the internet, that even if there's no internet, the system can work offline. So that's how results are trickling in, and Pakistan's electronic media is reporting those results as they're coming in.
And without internet, there is that particular loophole of not being able to monitor the results nor progress. So how is the Electoral Commission even ensuring, verification?
So, like I said, the Electoral Commission has its own election management system, which can work offline. And right now, they're using that system. So, the voting just finished a couple of hours ago. It's 9:12 p.m. in Pakistan. Voting finished about 4 hours ago. So, the tabulation has started. There are 90,000 polling stations at least in Pakistan. And so, this is a big exercise. It's not as if all of the results are going to come in within hours. We do expect that within the next 3 or 4 hours, we'll have a decent idea of who's leading the field. But by tomorrow morning, we'll have an even better idea. So this is a process that is not going to stop because internet is not available. But this is something that is bothering people, because what this means is that if they experienced any kind of irregularities in today's poll, it was very difficult to report those. And so at this point, the process is largely in the Election Commission's hands. In fact, it's in the hands of the presiding officers, the polling officers that have been present in those polling stations. They are right now busy counting those votes and entering that data in the election management system, which is then going to be sent to the Election Commission of Pakistan, and they will announce the result. So, and there are also people present in the polling stations who are going to monitor this, and we believe that they will also share this information, if not tonight, by tomorrow, with respective political parties. There'll be information available on the internet. But yes, this has worried people that this creates a situation in which results could be manipulated if somebody wanted to. But that is something we'll have to wait until we actually see the final results, and we see whether any political party members come forward and lodge any kinds of complaints against those results.
And what about supporters of, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who was arrested days ago? They are against this election. Did their anger impact in any way on the turnout for the polls or its conduct?
So, former Prime Minister Imran Khan was actually arrested last August, and he has been in jail since then. The recent sentences that came against him were also handed down to him while he was in jail, because he has not been allowed to leave the prison, largely for security reasons, the government says. Now, as far as the supporters are concerned, I met quite a few voters today, many of whom were Imran Khan supporters. Some of them said that they don't believe this election is fair and they don't believe that the results would be credible, but they still wanted to take part in this exercise because they wanted their voices to be heard, because they didn't want to just sit at home and say that they just let somebody else take over the field. So there is disappointment, there is anger, but there was no violence seen from PTI supporters. In fact, since May 9th of last year, when Khan supporters stormed military installations, we have seen that the party has made a very concerted effort to keep its supporters calm. They keep sending out this message to their supporters that no matter what kind of a prison sentence Khan is handed down, and no matter how much the party faces a clampdown, that the supporters should stay peaceful. And we have seen that play out. We have seen the supporters remain largely peaceful when they've come out for political gatherings. We've seen a lot of them get arrested, but we haven't seen any acts of violence from the party the way we saw from supporters on May 9th of last year.
Right, Sarah, thank you so much for your time and for giving us updates on that situation in Pakistan.
Thank you for having me.
To the Korean Peninsula, where North Korea's parliament has voted in favor of abolishing all economic cooperation agreements with its neighbor, South Korea. The latest decision comes after Pyongyang last month declared Seoul its main enemy, jettisoned agencies dedicated to reunification, and threatened to occupy the South during war. Earlier today, the Supreme People's Assembly, which takes formal steps to adopt policy allegedly dictated by the ruling Workers' Party on Wednesday, voted to scrap the law on inter-Korean economic cooperation. Relations between the two Koreas have been in a deadlock, with key projects suspended for years as Pyongyang ramps up its weapons development programs and Seoul bolstered its military cooperation with the United States and Japan. India and China are having better relations, though. The Chinese envoy to India said trade relations between the two reached record levels in 2023, surpassing 2022 figures despite a slowdown mid-year. Speaking at an event in Delhi celebrating the Chinese New Year, the charge d'affaires said that the growth in trade to $136.2 billion went along with other areas of improvement in bilateral ties, pointing to the informal meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping in August last year on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. The bilateral trade grew by just 1.5%. It stood at $135.9 billion in 2022, with New Delhi's trade deficit with Beijing exceeding $100 billion last year. However, Indian exports to China increased by 6%. Over the past year, China-India relations have shown a positive momentum of improvement. The two sides maintain a high-level communications and interactions as well. In the United States, the Supreme Court is to hear oral statements today in the high-stakes case that will probably determine whether former President Donald Trump is eligible to run for president this year. The case, Donald J. Trump versus Norma Anderson et al., came out about 6 Colorado voters filed a lawsuit last year alleging Mr. Trump was ineligible to run for president under a little-used provision of the Constitution's 14th Amendment. The provision says that any member of Congress or officer of the United States who takes an oath to defend the Constitution and then subsequently engages in insurrection is barred from holding office. The ban can only be overridden by a two-thirds vote by both chambers of the Congress. Mr. Trump's conduct during the January 6 Capitol attack disqualifies him from holding federal office, the Colorado voters claimed in their suit, filed last year in a state court. After a 5-day trial, a judge found Mr. Trump had engaged in insurrection but was not an officer of the United States and declined to remove him from the ballot. In a 4-3 decision in December, the Colorado Supreme Court reversed that ruling and barred him from the ballot. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case in January. Well, for the first time, global warming has exceeded 1.5 Celsius across an entire year, according to the EU's Climate Change Service. World leaders promised in 2015 to try to limit the long-term temperature rise, which is seen as crucial to help avoid the most damaging impacts this year. This first-year-long breach doesn't break that landmark Paris Agreement, but it does bring the world closer to doing so in the long term. Scientists say urgent action to cut carbon emissions can still slow warming. The period from February 2023 to January 2024 reached 1.52 of warming, according to the EU's Climate Change Service. The following graph shows how that compares with previous years. We'll bring you that graph soon, but let's just go back to the United States, where the Supreme Court is to hear oral statements today in the high-stakes case that will probably determine whether former President Donald Trump is eligible to run for president this year. The case, Donald J. Trump versus Norma Anderson et al., came after about 6 Colorado voters filed a lawsuit last year alleging Mr. Trump was ineligible to run for president under a little-used provision of the Constitution's 14th Amendment. The provision says that any member of Congress or officer of the United States who takes an oath to defend the Constitution constitution and then subsequently engages in insurrection is barred from holding office. The ban can only be overridden by a two-thirds vote by both chambers of the Congress. Mr. Trump's conduct during the January 6th Capitol attack disqualifies him from holding federal office. The Colorado voters claimed in their suit filed last year in the state court. After a 5-day trial, a judge found Mr. Trump had engaged in insurrection but was not an officer of the United States and declined to remove him from the ballot. In a 4-3 decision in December, the Colorado Supreme Court reversed that ruling and barred him from the ballot. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case in January. Let's get more on this. As promised earlier, our Washington correspondent, Maria Bird, joins us now. Maria, what has happened so far regarding this case today?
This case began at 10 a.m. this morning, Eastern Standard Time, and it is expected that we will see arguments from the court case here. As we know, the former president has appealed the decision to keep him off of the ballot as a result of the January 6th attacks and riots on the Capitol. Now, the real question here that the Supreme Court will be looking at is the 14th Amendment. Which is what is being used to say that he is not eligible to be on the ballot. Now, this obviously there are Supreme Court justices that are Republican. There are some that are Democrat. And so I think the question is politics going to play a role in this decision-making matter, or are we going to focus in on the core issues around the constitutional right of the former president if he should be allowed to stay on the ballot? And so oral arguments are being heard. We can expect those to happen throughout the day. And we can expect to see there have been some thoughts around where certain justices sit on this side of the fence. The last case that we've seen that's dealing with election balloting was the Gore case in 2000. But this is one that is a landmark case that is unprecedented to see a former president potentially being held liable and accountable for an attack on the democracy in the capital of the United States.
It's a crucial case for Mr. Trump. But how long does this kind of case take normally in the United States?
Well, because this is so unprecedented, I think that it's going to depend on how many oral arguments will be heard. It will depend on how many times the justices have to go into private counsel sessions and how quickly they decide that they can move forward with a decision. So I think we will continue throughout the day to get very clear updates as to when and if the case will end. But at this time, they are still in the mode of hearing oral arguments and gaining additional information regarding the case.
And what has the former president said about this?
Well, he has gone on the campaign trail. So we know that today he is campaigning and that he will continue to obviously push forward that he should be on the ballot and continue to rally his base, which have been strong supporters of him throughout this whole process.
And how are his supporters processing what the outcome could be?
I think that his supporters will definitely be very much in support to say that he should be on the ballot. I think that if a decision comes out that is not in that favor, we could potentially see some great challenges with this campaign season. And we could potentially obviously see further legal cases brought forth. But we know the Supreme Court is pretty much the final decision maker for most cases. But whether or not there will be other claims brought forward, we won't know until we get to the end of this case.
Right, Maria, thanks again for joining us. Elsewhere now, a South African court has upheld a ban on opposition party leaders, preventing them from attending President Cyril Ramaphosa's speech this week to mark the opening of the new parliamentary session in South Africa. The 6 MPs who were also suspended from Parliament from February 1st to 29th were among a group of members from the Economic Freedom Fighters Party who were ordered out of the room by the Speaker for interrupting Mr. Ramaphosa's 2023 speech. Instead of leaving, the group led by EFF President Julius Malema jumped on stage and held up signs calling on Mr. Ramaphosa to step down before security forced them out. Mr. Malema, EFF Deputy President Floyd Shivambu, and other MPs took legal action to appeal their suspension but were rejected. Earlier in the week, the Western Cape High Court dismissed another appeal they filed, asking that the new parliamentary rules under which they were suspended be declared invalid. But in the DR Congo, residents are fleeing due to the M23 rebel group's attacks on a community considered the last line of defense before the region's largest city of Goma. According to the fleeing civilians, the M23, which allegedly has ties to Rwanda, detonated explosives in North Kivu's Sakas city, 27 kilometers from Goma, in a scuffle with security forces. Carrying bedrolls, babies, and other belongings, hundreds of people marched in the heat along a narrow roadway clogged with beat-up trucks and vans in flight once again from the unrest that has gripped eastern Congo for decades. In a statement, the rebels had warned that attacks targeting their forces and/or indiscriminate shelling of civilian populations will be dealt with at their source. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi, who was re-elected in December, has struggled to end the violence despite promises to do so. He accuses neighboring Rwanda of providing military support to the M23 rebels, a claim supported by the United Nations experts but denied by Rwanda. The vast unrest has created one of the world's largest humanitarian crises, with at least 6.9 million people displaced as of October. And still ahead on the program, Nigerians in Lagos and South Africa celebrate the Super Eagles' win at AFCON. Stay with us for details. Welcome back. 4 years of historic rains in the northern region of South Sudan have submerged farmlands, ancestral homes and roads, turning Bentui into an island. About 250,000 people have fled there due to the floods. They now live in IDP settlements below the waterline, hemmed in by dikes erected and maintained by United Nations peacekeepers.
Unity State in South Sudan is facing a dual crisis, one born out of conflict and the other out of the climate crisis. Perhaps the most pressing challenge for all in this camp is keeping 3 years of relentless flooding from washing everything away.
We might not be saving these people from bullets, but we are saving them from the floods.
Bentui IDP camp is home to a fluctuating population of between 100,000 and 250,000 displaced people.
Behind us is the IDP camp and the UNMISS camp, and all around this area is 5 to 6 feet of water. What you see just in front of you is a thin road which is connecting this, I would call, an island with the outside world.
The camp is the only dry ground for kilometers around, and access is limited to a single road and mud airstrip.
Bantio has been hit by the worst flooding in the last 60 years. And due to this, there's an inundated area of more than 5,400 square kilometers. So this is the challenge which is only faced by Pakistan METF in South Sudan. Our work is more hectic and it is more risky and it is more equipment heavy. And as you can see, we are working around the clock.
Flooding started in 2020 and never relented. It has submerged entire villages and displaced hundreds of thousands. Pakistani peacemakers are on constant guard, providing vital engineering support.
No, we are not off at all. Even on Sundays and weekends, we are working. As an engineering unit, we are maintaining main supply route, we are maintaining dikes, maintaining the airstrip. We are using our machinery extensively, but still the dikes are sometimes deteriorated, and we have to even rush late at night or any time, so to protect the civilians.
Yeah, it's 24/7, and God forbid if something happens, then it carries on. It never stops.
The most important part of the engineering unit support is dike maintenance.
flood mitigation and response, it usually starts with the reconnaissance of dikes early in the morning. We carry out these reconnaissance of these dikes on foot as well as the boat reconnaissance. Moving around our dike system, which is now more than 80 kilometers of the dike system, which is protecting this Bentiu town. We just move around and see physically with our own eyes if there are some weak points that we need to cater for. If we did not have this dike system around us, then the place where we are standing at this moment, it would be in 5 to 6 feet of water. There would be no IDP camp, there would be no Bentiu town, and there would be no UNMISS presence here in Sector Unity, especially in Bentiu, if this dike system was not available.
Without this constant maintenance, all efforts to keep this vulnerable population safe would be in vain.
There is only one road which is available in this area, which is used by everyone, including the humanitarians and the locals. We are maintaining this MSR or main supply route. So if that route is compromised, there is no communication at all.
If the road is cut off, it will impact the delivery of life-saving humanitarian aid.
Rupkano airstrip is the second most busy airstrip in South Sudan. It is a mud airstrip, so it requires constant maintenance used by all the government agencies as well as by the humanitarian agencies.
The Rupkana airstrip is the only way out of Bentiu. Without it, the community would be completely isolated from the outside world.
And back here in Nigeria, as the Nigerians celebrate the Super Eagles of Nigeria's qualification to the final of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire, Lagos is no different. Football fans and enthusiasts, including representatives of the Lagos state government, were at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikan to witness Nigeria triumph over South Africa on penalties, with the game beamed live on giant screens.
The Mobolaji Johnson Arena, Onikan, is one of the several Lagos is a Goal mega viewing center where football fans and enthusiasts who are not opportune to be in Cote d'Ivoire can also come watch games of the Super Eagles on giant screens laced with entertainment organized by the Lagos state government.
Well, it's our tradition in Lagos, it's our culture. Lagos is the headquarters of entertainment in Africa. It's the headquarters of sports. Many of these guys who are playing for Nigeria today, they are one connection or the other with Lagos. So Lagos cannot do less than this. Lagos has brought everybody here to Onikan so that we can show the world how it's done. The match is being played in Cote d'Ivoire, but you can see that the crowd in Lagos is even bigger than the one in Cote d'Ivoire. It's because we know the role of sports in unity. We know the role of sports in bringing Lagosians together.
With the semi-final clash between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and South Africa underway, the anxiety mounts as the Lagos fans anxiously await an opener. The fans are relieved when in the second half, Captain Truce Ekong converted a well-taken penalty. The game drags into penalty. The stadium, however, soon erupts into joy with the Eagles' triumph in the shootout.
The other time, it's like a prophecy that has been, noted by all of us. And it's so exciting that it has come out this way. Even though the moment was Son's intention, but the spirit of Nigeria was very active and alive. And this has come out with this kind of positive result.
It's a big congratulations to the president, to the governor of Lagos State, by providing this platform for everybody to come together in an atmosphere of peace, excitement, and joy. I think we are going to win the cup.
This is the spirit of our time. You know, this is going to show that Super Eagles is going to win this match at the end of it all. I mean, I want to say congratulations to Super Eagles. I want to say congratulations to Nigeria. And I know that at the end of it all, come February 11, we'll be coming back to Nigeria with that cup.
They've done well. No, I'm so excited. I'm very happy. From the beginning of the game, they were improving. Till this match now. We proved that we're the giant of Africa.
Semi-final is done and dusted. There is still one more hurdle to cross for the Super Eagles to become four-time African champions. And that is against the host, Côte d'Ivoire, on Sunday, February 11th.
And let's cross over now to South Africa, where Channels Television also had an opportunity to interview a few supporters from Pretoria, South Africa. Take a listen.
It was a match filled with tensions and excitement as Nigeria faced off against South Africa in the African Cup of Nations semi-final. The Super Eagles showed their resilience, clinching victory in a dramatic penalty shootout after a nail-biting 90 minutes. Some South Africans say that Bafana gave it all out.
24 years we haven't been to the semi-finals. This year we went, we came through. It's better than nothing. It's a good start. Maybe next year we can do better. Anyways, it was a good game. Nigeria played well, well-deserved win and everything. Well done to them. But Bafana, they did the most. I didn't actually think we'd get to the far, honestly.
I'm hurt. I'm a bit sad, but I'll be okay. I'm happy for them, though. Okay. Yeah, it was a good game. It was nice. Yeah, it was a challenging one, but okay. Congratulations, Nigeria.
Meanwhile, Nigerians are thrilled with the Super Eagles' performance.
Congratulations to us because we're all Africans, and I'm so happy for Super Eagles. They made it tonight. I woke up this morning with a good news, and I'm ending my day with a good news as well. I say congratulations to Nigerians. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. Even though in the beginning of the game it was there were a lot of pressure. You understand? But we thank God it's a win-win.
What a beautiful time it has been, with the sentiment of one Africa, one nation echoing throughout the supporters.
Yeah. Well, we love each other, South Africa and Nigeria, we are one Africa. And, a game like this, it's something that brings us together, and it creates a friendly relationship, and it makes us one family,
I'm a little bit sad. I'm hurt. But I did say at the beginning of the game that they're going to win only because of the penalties. Other than that, they know we gave them a tough game. And we still shout out South Africa. We are all Africans. Shout out to us. Shout out to them. It's their turn to win. So, let's have a good time.
Indeed, a thrilling match that kept fans on the edge of their seats as Nigeria celebrates their victory and looks ahead to the finals against Côte d'Ivoire on Sunday. We say well done to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. From Pretoria, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Certainly, everyone is also expecting an equally thrilling match on Sunday. Well, that's this program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Jaka Rogers. Bye for now.